Welcome to incumbent Republican Senator Mark Romanchuk and Democratic challenger Kathy Salem. Thanks to both of you for participating tonight. I certainly appreciate it, and thanks for waiting around, and even though we're running late. So I want to start by offering both of you a chance to introduce yourselves. Take a minute if you would. Kathy, we'll start with you. Introduce yourself to Richland County.
Yes, I'm new to Richland County in many ways, and I have 3 counties, as Mr. Romanchuk also does. And this is how I feel. Every act of caring has a ripple-down effect, touching many lives, and I care. And this is why I am running. I've always been a trailblazer. I am 81 years old, and I have worked in many different aspects. I have been the one of 3 women in classified advertising at the Cleveland Plain Dealer when it was the 11th largest newspaper in the United States. At 46, I quit that job and went and got a full scholarship at Case Western Reserve and graduated. Then I worked up on the Hill during the time of Russ Konkowski, Foley, Hyde, Jesse Helms, and Mitchell. I have also created a life skills class as a volunteer at Decker Family Development in Barberton, Ohio 30 years ago, and I taught welfare mothers life skills. When I left, they hired 2 people. I was also very active in raising money for the Jewish Community Center in Akron, Ohio, which is where I lived. About me, I do care. I've always cared. I'm honest. Anybody who would know me know I'm honest. I have the greatest integrity, and I cannot be influenced by big money. And I will represent my district, and how I'll do that is in each one of my counties have a city, and I will have a representative there every week for a day and a half to hear. My door will always be open, my phone can always ring, and I always get back. I did forget one really big thing. I own a recording label, and I record very famous jazz musicians, and I didn't realize until I started running for this election how big my label is and how well known we are. I have certain issues that are very concerning, and some of it is the disenfranchised people in my counties, and I can discuss that later on. And I have some goals that I want to work on, many things: healthcare, transportation, information on better healthcare, skilled labor. My lady before us, the Congresswoman, she talked about early education, and I am very big on early education at starting at 3-year-olds, and we should provide daycare for them so that the mothers and the fathers can go to work. There are places that do not have grocery stores in this city, and they have no clinics, healthcare. There is no place to get a baby delivered in Ashland or in Richland counties. You have to travel far. And these are my things that I worry about and hope to work with both sides. Once you learn to work in Washington, D.C., you learn how to work both sides. And I have friends in Congress and friends at the Senate that I've known for years, and I will work on both sides of the table to get our goals taken care of.
Thank you, Kathy. Hopefully there's a couple of questions I can still ask. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Mark, take a minute and introduce yourself to Richland County.
Thank you, Carl, and thank you to Richland Source for having us tonight. And thank you, Mr. Allred. I see you hidden there in the audience as well. So, and thank you to my opponent here, Ms. Salem. Thank you for running, and thank you for caring, and I wish you all the best. So I was born in Richland County. I was graduated from Ontario High School, and after graduation, I attended college and earned an engineering degree, and went to work for Hughes Aircraft Company located in Los Angeles, and that was a big blessing for me for 2 reasons. One, because they were the leading technology company in the world, so as an engineer, it was a real privilege to work there. But second, I got to travel all over the world I spent 5 years overseas, and I met my wife, who is also in the audience, so thank you, Zoe. We met in the former Soviet Union while working there, and I can tell you that was probably the best thing that happened to me, and although I enjoyed my time at Hughes, the best part was really meeting my wife. So after that, I went to Vanderbilt University and earned an MBA. I came back home and joined the family business, and a few years after that, my wife and I purchased a business, and since then we've started a second business, and that's been now 30 years ago. I can't believe time has went that fast, but so 30 years later, we've created a lot of jobs, a lot of opportunity for Richland County individuals and people outside the county as well. So we're very proud of the work there. And I'm very lucky, again, to have Zoe because she's sort of watching the store, if you will, while I'm in Columbus every week doing the work of a legislator. So I'm very fortunate to have the opportunity to serve, and I hope I can serve one more term, then I'll be term limited out of the Senate. So hopefully we're successful in this election and I can continue the good work. Thank you.
All right. Kathy, we'll start with you. I want to go talk about State Issue 1. You've heard the description of it. It's going to impact how boundaries are drawn for the legislative congressional districts. Give me your thoughts on State Issue 1. Why is it a good idea or why is it a bad idea?
Well, something needed to be done because we are gerrymandered, and I am a victim of it in this election. It's a very Republican area, and I'm a Democrat, and it's been moved around and changed over the years. And something needs to be done because we have to be able to have both sides of the community heard. We are a two-party country, and we need to hear both sides. And at this point, it's very difficult to hear both sides. So something has to be done. Will this be the fail-safe, wonderful thing that we would like? We don't know, but it's a good experiment as far as I'm concerned, and we have to see if it works.
Thank you. I should have pointed out at the beginning, and you kind of alluded to it, Kathy, but I should make it clear. This district is Richland, Ashland, and Medina counties. I didn't point that out from the beginning,
Yes.
so I apologize for that. But Mark, State Issue 1, good, bad?
Well, I'm against Issue 1. I will encourage all of your viewers tonight to vote no. And why is that? Well, I believe in the founding principles of this country, and one of the basic principles of our form of government are checks and balances. And for 222 years in this state, we've believed in checks and balances, where there is a direct tie between the voter and the individual making decisions on their behalf. That accountability piece is extremely, extremely important. And let me take you back to 2014 when we had this debate in the legislature. So in 2014, there's two ways an initiative can get on the ballot. One, the legislature can put it on the ballot, or two, citizens can put it on the ballot. In 2014 and 13, when I first took office in 2013, the topic of conversation was the districts were gerrymandered. And if you recall looking at the districts, they were some very, very odd-shaped districts because they had been gerrymandered. There was even a district that followed the shoreline of Lake Erie called Snake on the Lake. The voters said to us, fix that. Will you fix that? The legislature then voted to put two initiatives on the ballot. One was passed in 2015, the other in 2018 that Marilyn mentioned earlier. And it was bipartisan. It was nearly unanimous vote by Republicans and Democrats that this would fix the problem. So the two initiatives went to the ballot. They were passed overwhelmingly. And that is the system we now have in place. With Issue 1, if it passes, the system that was put in place basically said, we're going to stop gerrymandering by making you respect county lines, city lines, and township lines. You could not split those, only in weird circumstances and population areas where you had no choice but to split them because there was such a large population. So we're talking Cuyahoga, Franklin, Hamilton County, and a few other places around the state. So that cut down on gerrymandering because the map makers had to respect those lines. If issue 1 passes, those lines will not be respected, and you will go back to these very, very odd-shaped districts, which will require gerrymandering. For that reason, Carl, I'm against issue 1.
Thank you. I mentioned earlier a story that I read in the Ohio Capital Journal talking about 41 million members of Gen Z being able to vote across the country. One of the things they talked about most in a survey they did with these younger voters is money. Money is on their minds. It cited a study from Tufts University that said their biggest economic issues were inflation, cost of living, and jobs that pay a living wage. What could you do as a member of the Ohio Senate to address those issues? And Mark, you go first this time.
Well, the economy and opportunities, creating opportunities have been a priority for me. When I took office in 2013, we were still reeling from the 09-08 recession. The state was in bad shape with regard to its finances. That has all now been fixed. Third parties around the country tell us that our finances are the best they've seen like in 40 plus years. So that part's been fixed. But the other way we have wanted to prime the pump, get the economy going again, is through tax policy. And we've massively cut taxes. And that has allowed more of the money that people earn to stay in their own pockets. So that in itself will help individuals who maybe don't feel like they have enough money. Inflation. Inflation is not something that was caused by the state of Ohio. Because of federal policy, we now have these headwinds that are facing every state, including Ohio, that have really put us behind. And under our policies, we saw real wage growth go up. And again, it was very low inflation, so it was a little bit easier to overcome that low inflation with some wage growth. Today, that's flipped because of the inflationary times we live in. The wages are not keeping pace. So we need better policies from our federal partners, and that's something that we advocate. We can only advocate for that. There's nothing we can do about it other than advocate to our federal representatives. But so that would be number one. But again, a big priority has always been on the economy and getting it moving and getting us up to a point where everybody has opportunity. That's what will increase wages. The more we do with that, the more the wages will go up. Unfortunately, during these inflationary times, it's a very difficult time to be living through.
Okay, thank you. Kathy, same question for you. What do we do to address these issues that the Gen Z residents and really everybody is talking about? Inflation, cost of living, and jobs that pay a living wage.
Well, I think I'm going to talk about my district because I am not a politician and I've never been involved in politics. So I could only talk about what I know and what I could work with. And that is being very involved in the businesses that we have already and making sure that they know that we support them, both with tax issues, both with good wages, both with working conditions. And this will bring other industries in and provide opportunities here for people to want to work here. As far as a living wage, I'm a very pro-union person, and I think that the unions need to have more control over the wage situation and making sure that their workers are getting a living wage. I support new growth and new roads and new public services like better transportation for the disenfranchised, and this will provide jobs and good wages. And working with industry to attract these young people and make them feel secure.
Thank you, and we'll stay with you on this one, Kathy. you're making your first venture into politics, doing it at a fairly high level. After, it's always good to hear somebody that was working in the print newspaper business at the same time I was. You were at a much larger paper than I was, but at this point, why did you decide to run for the state senate, and what have you learned during the campaign so far?
Oh my gosh. Well, I didn't quite decide. I was drafted by the Democratic Party while I was baking Christmas cookies in December. And I got a text. And my daughter was there, and she said, "Mother, they want you to run for a political party." And we're thinking dog catcher or something like that. And she answered yes, and then I got a phone call, and then Simon Dallas from the caucus called me and said, "We'd like you to run for state senator." And I said, "Who?" I had no idea what I was getting into, other than I know I care about people and I work very, very hard. If I win, I will work very hard, and I'm very dedicated to whatever I do. Being a senator, my children said, "You better get a YouTube, Mother, and find out what it is to work as a senator in Columbus, because you sure don't know." And I don't know, and I will take a lot of guidance and counseling, and I will follow a lot of instructions. But I run a big business, and I've done a lot of charity work, and I've raised a lot of money, and I know how to work with people, and I care about being elected. I will care about you.
Thank you. Mark, you've been in Columbus now for a while, the Ohio House, State Senate. Give me the one or two things that you're most proud of, and what's the one or two biggest challenges from the time you went down there today that you really wish you could have found a way to solve?
Well, I'm most proud of Ohio's position among other states. We benchmark ourselves with other states economically, and when I got there, we were around 48th in the country. We were fighting for last place with the state of Michigan. Today, we're in the 20s, 30s. We just saw a ranking that came out by CNBC that has Ohio now ranked 7th for business friendliness and 2nd for cost of doing business. Those are very important measures, because businesses won't invest in our state if they don't think that the government is business friendly. Number one, and they won't invest in our state if they think the cost of doing business is too high. So today, we're 2nd in the country. I'm extremely proud of that. And one of those things that, with regard to something that I haven't been able to get done, is I've done a lot of work in the energy space. Our electricity costs are decent when we compare ourselves with other states, but they're likely on the rise. And I've been trying to get some changes made to the way we set our rates that we all pay on our electric bills. That's been a very difficult thing to get done. I've been working on it for a long time. I'm not going to give up. But I hope, Carl, that maybe if I'm reelected in the next 4 years, I can make some progress. Sometimes I feel like I can get my colleagues to go along, and then other times it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I will continue to work on lowering everybody's electricity rates. And the second thing that just more recently popped up is this idea about property taxes. So we've all been hit with increased property taxes due to appraisals going up. So we're looking at 2 different proposals in the legislature to try and smooth that out a little bit. One would expand the homestead exemption. One of the things about the homestead exemption that we have to take into account is the state then fills those holes. So when the local governments don't receive all of the money they thought they were going to receive, the state steps in and makes them whole. So, and then the other way is to smooth out, instead of having an appraisal where you have a large increase, smooth that out over a 3-year period. So local property taxes are just that. They're local. They're decided by you at the ballot. It's nothing I ever vote on. It's something we all vote on at the local level. So I just remind you of that, but I hope we can address the property tax issue. And maybe it even gets done here before the end of the year. We'll see.
Thank you. Now, both of you have spoken about the importance of the availability of health care for residents. Mark, you're the chair, I believe, of the Medicaid Committee down in Columbus. Kathy, you've talked about improving health care access in rural areas and inner cities such as Mansfield's own North End. What will each of you do in Columbus to improve accessibility of affordable health care in this district? And Kathy, we'll start with you.
Well, I have this dream of having mobile services. If you drive out in the countryside here, which I had never done until I started running for Senate, people live very far from their health care. And so I have this idea, and there is one experiment going on now, that you have a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, or even a doctor that has a van with basic health care services. Like if you need your blood drawn, do you have to drive 35 miles to get your blood drawn? Do you need your blood pressure checked on a regular basis? You cut your finger and so forth. I have this dream of this mobile service, and I would like to work on that. There are places that we need to have neighborhood clinics that you can get to very easily, not 35 minutes in a car, and if you don't have a car, is there a service that will pick you up and take you to the clinic? There are several that are available in other places that I would investigate here in Ohio. So that is my dream of having some health care, because I read an article in the Akron Beacon Journal that the excuse me, mortality rate or the longevity of someone living in the countryside is 10 years less than someone who lives where there is a city healthcare situation. So that's what I would like to see, is more clinics that are around and mobile healthcare.
Okay, thank you. Mark, same question.
Thank you. So we already have mobile clinics in the state of Ohio. Some of our Medicaid private insurance companies provide those already. They've actually been to the State House, and we've all toured them and got a chance to view what they look like. And we also, the state of Ohio supports a mobile crisis unit that goes out during children's when they're having a mental health crisis. So we have some of that already happening in Ohio. And with regard to Mansfield, we have seen an incredible increase in access in healthcare, and we can contribute that to the 3rd Street Clinic, which is an FQHC, a federally qualified health center, which if you talk to anybody in Columbus, I'm probably one of their biggest supporters in Columbus with regard to FQHCs. And they've done an incredible job. There's one not too far from here at the 5 Point district, so 5 Point intersection rather. And Marilyn and I, Representative John and I, just obtained $350,000 for the new clinic that the 3rd Street is developing in Shelby. So we've increased health care here. There's many ways to do that. You can do it with brick and mortar. We've also done it by allowing the authority of physician's assistants and APRNs to do more. That some of the mundane stuff that doctors do, we've given them more authority. I just had some legislation passed just a few months ago to do that. I just had another piece of legislation pass a few months ago that gave more authority to our pharmacies. So today you can walk into a pharmacy without an appointment, and if you need a vaccination, especially for your children, you can now do that at the pharmacy. We've been doing it under federal authority, but we've now extended that to a permanent situation. So there's a lot of ways to do that. We just came off of a budget with historic increases for Medicaid reimbursement. So that will expand access. It will hopefully expand doctors and dentists who want to provide Medicaid services. So there's a whole different host of things you can do. We've been doing many of those in Ohio, and we'll continue to do that as long as the need is there.
Thank you. I have some more things I wanted to cover, but I do want to respect people's times. We're about 10 minutes after 9, and I promised some folks, especially people who traveled all the way from Medina,
Thank
to
you.
be with us tonight. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up, and we're going to give both of you a chance to kind of make your final pitch. And Mark, we'll start with you, and we'll finish with Kathy. What's your final message to voters why they should vote for you on November 5th?
Well, thank you, Carl, and again, thank you, Ms. Salem, for joining us tonight. Thank you. Thank you to everybody here and to all your viewers. I've been in the legislature now 12 years, and some people might see that as a negative. I see that as a positive. Why? Because I know how to get things done. I have, over the years, got a lot of things done, and I know how to do that. And I'm in senior positions now, so once you've been there for a while, you become more senior. You get to chair different committees that make big decisions. So I have a senior position now and can really drive policy. And if you're interested in a strong economy, one that Ohio can be proud of, one that we can say we're now in the top 10 in the country, our goal is to get in the top 5. I think we're on our way. We've developed a caucus in Columbus called Business First. It's the largest caucus of any caucus in the legislature, and our focus is on business and getting our economy rolling. If you have an interest in continuing that progress we've made, I believe I'm your guy. I've been in business 30 years. I've created a lot of jobs, and I know how to get that done. So I hope I can earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Kathy, you get the final word of the evening.
Well, thank you very much, and thank all of you, and thank you, Mr. Romanchuk. I've enjoyed the evening very much. So, Mr. Romanchuk seems to know all the things that I have thought about running here, so if you vote for me, I'll be glad to follow through on a lot of the things that he has done already, and it'll have a new, fresh look at everything. I am a hard worker. As I always say, there's no advantage to being short, but there is an advantage to working hard, and I will work hard. And I'm not easily intimidated, and if I make up my mind I want something, I get it, and I want to know about you and what's happening here in Mansfield, Ashland, and Medina, and I hope I have your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy.